Ladies and gentlemen, it's a big, weird, wild world out there, folks, and here we stand. Al pie del cañón, ready for anything. I'm Rob, that's Dan, and you're listening to...
The ProBoh Show!
Good morning, everyone, on this beautiful Monday morning. Currently, I think 19 degrees outside. Does that sound right? Yeah, 19 degrees, expecting highs of 35 degrees later on today. It is, of course, the 27th of July, and we are live. How are you doing, Dan?
I'm doing well today.
Yeah, you feeling good? Did
Yes.
you catch up on sleep this weekend?
I could say so, yes.
Yeah, it was a lot cooler this weekend, thank God. Thank God. But yeah, we are being plagued here in Madrid by the fires. It's become international news as I became aware this weekend by several messages from friends and family from the UK and all over the world asking if I'm okay. Yeah, did you have you been affected by the fires at all, Dan?
No.
No, on I think it was Saturday morning. No, it was Friday afternoon. I could smell the smoke from my house. Crazy, dude. Crazy. Yeah, be very careful out there, friends, with the fires and the situation that is expanding here and in France. Well, all over the world, really. There are live map trackers of wildfires, and really, the whole world seems to be on fire right now. It's craziness. And good morning to you, my ever faithful Bohemians in the chat. How are you doing? What chat, you may ask? Well, if you want to be as cool, as sexy, as charming, as handsome, as beautiful, as impactful, as intellectual as our live audience, you can do that on twitch.tv/professional bohemian. That's twitch.tv/professional bohemian. That's Bohemio Profesional, pero en inglés. Yeah, Andy's village, El Sotillo, is in flames right now. Yeah, she's quite devastated. Obviously, the news is quite limited to what's happening as citizens and firefighters alike are out there trying to beat back the flames. So good luck to everyone out there. And do be careful. The temperatures are going to ramp up again, expecting highs of 40 degrees later on in the week here in Madrid. Anyway, let's see who's joining us live, shall we? I don't want to get too sad. Let's see. Carmen's here live. Good morning, my dear Bohemians. Long time no see. Long time no see, Carmen. Nice to see you. Vero's here. Good morning, my beautiful Bohemians around the universe and beyond. This week, I salute you from my second home, much more fresh than Madrid City. Well, hello, Vero. It's nice to be, nice to join you in a different place. Good morning, my beautiful Bonnie Bouncy Bohemians and Bonnie Bouncy Bob and darling dashing dandy Dan the radio man. That's obviously the bridge. She says a barbecue smell, Rob. Funnily enough, I don't want to make light of what's happening, but it was quite a barbecue-y smell. I'm going to be honest. I think there were fires around Alcalá de Henares or something like that on. Must have been Friday through the day that burnt on into Saturday. And that's why the smell was reaching me in my barrio, in my neighborhood. But yeah, it's quite, it's devastating, man. It's devastating what's happening. I went to the Parque de Atracciones last Saturday. The sky was orange and the sunlight at 10 a.m. looked like a sunset. Yeah, I noticed that. I noticed that too. Yeah, it is worrying what's happening everywhere in Europe right now, especially here in Southern Europe. I thought I'd heard Sotillo. You did hear Sotillo. Yeah. Mike says, good morning, dear Bohemians. This is a cool place where we can safely be on fire. Hope the real ones end soon and cause no more harm. Yeah, like I was saying, Andy's village, Sotillo, was evacuated as the fires raged on there. Hopefully they get control of that. Currently, it seems to be to the east of Madrid is just in absolute flames right now. Anyway, all that said and done, my friends, let's see what's coming up today. Well, interesting, this week's topics are actually your topics, or more of a collaboration between you and I. On Friday, I posted, I think it was 10 unpopular opinions on my Patreon and asked you to pick your favorites. So our unpopular opinions this week are coming courtesy of you, all in the theme of education. Last week we spoke about capitalism, and this week we're talking about education, so it's an interesting one. If you want to actually join us there on Patreon and have your voice heard and check out all the unique series I've got on there and many other things, you can join me there at patreon.com/professional bohemian. And of course, you can interact with all of the shows on my Instagram. That's @professionalbohemian. But the only link you need to worry about right now is the one to our chat, twitch.tv/professional bohemian. So let's get into it. Today, all this week's topics on the subject of education. Our 100 humans today, we asked them to name something school and employment have in common. Nombra algo que el colegio y el empleo tienen en común. And today's unpopular opinion is education should produce informed citizens, not employable workers. La educación debería formar ciudadanos informados, no trabajadores empleables. It's a tough one today. We'll get into a little bit more of the nuance around that later, but first of all, we'll dig into some news. Before I do that, actually, I'm going to just see what's being said here in the chat. You guys have come alive this morning. West of Madrid, Rob. No, west of Madrid. Did I say the east? My bad. Thank you, Mike. I think our friend Gemma is surrounded by the flames. All my love, my friend, says Vero. Oh, God, Gemma, be careful out there, please. Anyway, so spare a thought to all those people who are suffering through these wildfires in person. I mean, obviously, if you're here in Madrid, it's quite evident because you can smell the smoke even in the center. But from further afield, it just seems like a news story. But so many people, I think it's in the region of 200,000 people in France and Spain being displaced by these fires. It's craziness, dude. Craziness. All right, we'll get into some news, shall we? Dan, have you heard of the dead internet theory?
I think so. We talk about it sometimes.
Yeah, I think we've spoken about it before on the show, Teoría del Internet Muerto. It's the idea that much of the internet is no longer created or inhabited by genuine human beings, but it's dominated by bots, algorithms, corporations, and increasingly AI-generated content. But the thing is, right, dead internet theory, it came into being in the 2010s, like the mid-2010s, like 2015, around there, where internet users, this is before, pre-AI, right, where users began noticing like increasingly repetitive posts, fake accounts, engagement farming, strangely uniform online behavior. And some people, and this is 2015, so 11 years ago, claimed that the real internet effectively died around 2016, 2017. And it just became dominated by fake actors, as it were. Weird, because that's like around 5 years, isn't it, before the dawn of AI? So then 2021, the theory gained wider attention after an anonymous user called Illuminati Pirate posted the dead internet theory. Most of the internet is fake on the Agora Road forum. And the post argued that bots were generating content and interacting with one another while governments and corporations used this artificial activity to manipulate public opinion. Isn't it scary how this user is a little bit of an oracle of our time? Because that seems to be what's going on, doesn't it? Then later in 2021, The Atlantic, a publication we often reference on this show, brought the theory to the mainstream discussion, describing it as largely conspiratorial. Right, saying it was fake, it's a conspiracy theory. But it did acknowledge at that time that the internet increasingly felt automated and commercialized and algorithmically controlled, which we all know it is, right? Which brings us to an interesting article here that I found on Fortune.com. It's crazy how this fringe theory, this fringe conspiracy theory, is as every day passes becoming more and more true. So get this: the dead internet theory was partially right. AI agents are eating the web, growing by nearly, get this, 8,000%. La teoría del Internet muerto tenía parte de razón. Los agentes de IA están devorando la web y creciendo, casi 8,000%. Wow. The old dead internet theory used to sound like a fringe conspiracy. The idea that the web was no longer mainly powered by real human activity. But according to several cybersecurity firms, that idea is becoming harder to dismiss. Cloudflare says bots are like independent kind of agents, user agents, like fake people, for the want of a better word. Cloudflare says bots generated 57.5% of web page requests in June 2026. Last month, nearly 60% of web traffic was generated by robots. While Thales puts the bot traffic at around 53% for the year. The real shock is the rise of AI agents, not just basic bots or scrapers. So a scraper is a program used to download all the text or all the images of a website and store it elsewhere. So not just bots or scrapers. Human security reports that traffic from agents capable of taking action online, such as clicking links and filling out forms, grew 7,851% year over year. That creates a huge problem for the internet's business model. Advertising, analytics, conversion funnels, bounce rates, page views were all built around the assumption that a website visitor is a human being. If a growing share of visitors are AI agents, businesses may need to rethink how they measure attention, sell ads, design APIs, and secure their platforms. Some companies are already adapting, with developers increasingly building tools for agents as end users, but the machine economy is still limited by unresolved questions around payments, liability, and trust. The web is not dead, but it's becoming much less human. Yeah. Does the rise of AI slop online make you more reticent to use social media? Question to you, my audience. I'll put that question to you, Dan. Does the AI content make it less pleasant for you to be active online?
Yes, but right now there's, at least in my case, not too much about it. Or at least that I know that it's AI.
Yeah, that's the thing. That's the pernicious thing, isn't it? It's just so... it's getting harder and harder to tell, isn't it? I mean, the obvious ones where it's just like different superheroes walking or countries turned into animals, things like that. Those are pretty obvious. But does anybody ever watch those videos? I mean, I immediately swipe past anything if it looks relatively AI generated. But the thing is, now, as humans and AI collaborate more and more, it's getting harder to tell what is AI generated and fake, isn't it? Let's see what people are saying here. I think our friend Gemma... Okay, Mike says, the other day I read that more than 40% of LinkedIn posts are written by AI. I would say that's even probably higher, right? When was the last time? I mean, who reads LinkedIn posts? I shouldn't say that, should I? Yeah, a lot of it is just slop and nonsense. It's corporate horoscopes and corporate backslapping. Look how, and then fake life lessons based on mundane events. This traffic jam teaches me a lot about corporate patience. Whatever, go to hell. I hate LinkedIn. I hate it. Carmen says, it does. AI is making things uglier. It's not enjoyable. Humanless. Yeah. It's not enjoyable. It's not enjoyable. It's not even pleasant to read. But it's becoming painfully aware to me that people are using Google less. Do you use Google to search things still, Dan? Questions? Or do you...
No,
No, you don't,
I
right?
was thinking about it, but no.
Yeah, Sophie the same. Whenever we have a question about something, she goes immediately to Claude. She uses Anthropic's Claude, which, by the way, I had a little play with. It is pretty incredible. And a lot of people just using ChatGPT now to search for things rather than going to Google and getting, and using your critical thinking abilities to identify, what you think is, what you think is valuable content or not. People just typing a search result, directly into ChatGPT itself. It is like, it's a brave new world out there, friends. I don't know. What is this? Blade Runner 2099, says Vero. Yeah, crazy stuff. Anyway, so 60% of web page requests in June 2026 were all bot traffic. And of course, we are slowly turning into bots ourselves thanks to our algorithmic overlords. Anyway, friends, on that note, I think it's time to go to an unpopular opinion.
Unpopular opinion.
Okay, so interesting and worrying stuff, isn't it? It does seem like the world is changing faster than perhaps our social structure is designed to cope with. Anyway, so let's get into our unpopular opinion today. All these week's topics, again, brought to you by you. When I say that this is one of the most listened to shows on this station, that's largely thanks to you and the thoughts and ideas you contribute. So again, twitch.tv/professional bohemian. And this week, uniquely, you've helped me pick the unpopular opinion. So let's get into the first of them. Education should produce informed citizens, not employable workers. La educación debería formar ciudadanos informados, no trabajadores empleables. Sounds very romantic, but is it pragmatic enough? Is this an idea that is a practical, workable change? Is this not the flow of water of education? Making things a little softer, a little more producing informed citizens rather than capable workers? Does this offer a lens to the opinion many have of new generations being unfit for work, lazy? Is this because education is producing or is not producing employable workers? It's an interesting one today. How do you think they voted on Instagram, Dan?
How was the phrase?
So it's education should produce informed citizens, not employable workers.
I think they voted true.
Yeah, they did. Not much of it's not much of a shock twist, is it? 91% of people voted true. I imagine you're a true as well on this one, right?
No, I'm a false.
You're a false?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm kind of in the middle, but I do lean, I'm going to be honest. I do lean quite heavily towards the false. I would call myself in the middle, but if I had to pick one, I would have picked false. The thing is, technical competence, professional discipline, occupational skills are harder to acquire later after schooling, aren't they? Without structured teaching, equipment, qualifications, expert guidance. Education should prioritize what individuals are least able to obtain by themselves. And a lot of that discipline, a lot of what makes you a good employee later on happens there. So I think the provocative conclusion for me personally is that a school can produce politically aware but economically dependent graduates if it just focuses on informed citizens rather than employable workers, right? So I think I'm kind of with you today, Dan. But let's have a look at the pro column. That's where most of you voted, 91%. Ciudadanos, Rob. Thank you, Vero. My bad. All right, so let's get into it. Education should produce informed citizens, not employable workers. So the 91% of you that voted, and boy, Did a lot of your vote this weekend. Wowee. Democracy depends on judgment, not job skills. A society needs people who can evaluate claims, understand institutions, recognize manipulation, and make reasoned political choices. Someone may be highly employable, yet be poorly equipped to judge what is true, fair, or in the public interest. I mean, there is some truth to that, but I think political understanding means very, very little if people leave education unable to support themselves, right? Economic independence can also make citizens more confident, engaged, less vulnerable to manipulation, right? The less dependent you are on the state, the more free you are to act independently of it. Doesn't that make sense? Employment needs to change faster than human needs. Employment needs change faster than human needs. Specific workplace skills can become outdated as industries and technologies change. The ability to reason, communicate, learn, and understand the world remains useful across an entire lifetime, including periods when a particular occupation disappears. Now, it is true, isn't it? I mean, there are kids in university right now currently studying jobs that won't exist due to automation and AI by the time they've graduated. And it's sad, but I think that's always, to some degree, been the case. And also, I think there's a bit of a false choice going on there between broad thinking and practical preparation. Like, a strong education can develop adaptable minds while also teaching skills that help people enter the labour market. And not even just inside the classroom, outside the classroom. Creating a generation of people who understand, like, a hierarchy in an office environment or in a work environment, who get to a place on time. I don't know. Anyway, education should expand freedom. A good education should give people the intellectual resources to question inherited belief, understand alternative lives, and make choices that genuinely are their own. Training people mainly for employment risks treating them as economic inputs rather than autonomous human beings. I mean, my pushback there would be like, the ability to earn a living itself is a major form of freedom, isn't it? To be valued outside of just your knowledge, but for your behavior. An education that encourages self-discovery but leaves students financially dependent offers, I don't know, liberation in theory and limitation in practice, I think. It's a false freedom, for the want of a better word. Employers should not define the purpose of childhood. Schools exist before most young people know what work they want to do. Organising education around current labour market demands allows businesses to shape childhood according to their staffing needs rather than the wider development of a person. Look, schools already prepare children for adult responsibilities, and employment is one of the largest responsibilities a person can have. Ignoring the realities of work life can be irresponsible, or as irresponsible as allowing companies to dictate curriculum, right? All right, let's get into the cons, where only 9% of people voted. Education should produce employable workers. Economic independence is foundational. People need income, stability, and the ability to provide for themselves. An education system that fails to prepare students for work may leave them informed about society but unable to participate in it with real independence. I mean, of course, to offer some form of rebuttal, employability without any civic understanding can produce people who are function within the system, but they can't really evaluate that system. But is it really school's responsibility to be filling a kid's head with political beliefs? Or at least actionable political bias in some way? I mean, I know not all civic responsibility is political in nature, but there is a large crossover there. Public education must justify its cost. Here's an interesting one. Education requires large amounts of public money, labour, and it's responsible for society to respect or expect that this investment will help people become productive and contribute economically and fill the necessary roles. We put a lot of money into the system. The system should be producing adults that can then further contribute to that system. Doesn't that make sense? Doesn't that make sense? Look, there's a lot to be said here, but I'm going to post a poll here in the chat and you guys can tell me. And that poll will read, my friends, education should produce informed citizens, not employable workers. La educación debería formar ciudadanos informados, no trabajadores empleables. True or false? It's a tough one today because I think idealistically we all want our kids to come out of school with a certain bright, shining light and of civic awareness. But isn't it important that they have the freedom to get and maintain a job? Well, you tell me, friends. I'll post the poll and I'll see you in a few minutes. Hey guys, if you'd like to support the show, you can do so on Patreon. That's patreon.com/professional bohemian. There you'll find VODs of the episodes as they are recorded live, blogs, vlogs, and behind the scenes content. If you'd like to watch the show live, you can do so on twitch.tv/professional bohemian, and you can participate in the polls we use in the show on Instagram @professional bohemian or Twitter @ProBoh, ProBoh. Okay, on with the show. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. It's 9 a.m. Central European Time, and you're joining me and Dan live. How you doing out there, folks? Been quite a show. I didn't anticipate this was going to be quite such an interesting discussion, so I wish I'd have kind of left more time for it. Yeah, the vote is still live. You can still contribute your opinion here on twitch.tv/professional bohemian. I think you have around 6 minutes left to vote. Or, of course, leave a comment, as so many of our live viewers do. Allow me to be the conduit of your ideas. We don't have to agree, but I do have to read. That's the contract I make with you. Anyway, what did you miss if we just tuned in? We looked at how the dead internet theory, something created or that came to the public consciousness around the mid-2010s. Pre-AI, the idea that most of the internet was created by and interacted with by bots. And how that's slowly becoming true. 57% of internet traffic generated by bots, apparently, according to Cloudflare last month in June of 2026. Now we're in the advent of agentic AI. I mean, what the hell, dude? Our website's even being created for us anymore. You know, why participate in a system that isn't created for you? But interesting. And then we moved on to today's unpopular opinion. Boy, is it a good one. A little bit controversial, it seems. Dan and I are on one side of the fence, and it seems like you guys are on the other. So we'll continue to talk about this. I'm interested in your ideas here. Education, la educación, should produce informed citizens, not employable workers. That's the unpopular opinion, as voted for by you. I think this was actually the most popular topic in the list that I gave you. La educación debería formar ciudadanos informados, no trabajadores empleables. It's a tough one. I think there are two contrasting views here, right? I think there's a civic view and a vocational view. Okay. And I don't think either are particularly wrong. It's just two sides, two ways to look at a puzzle, or two ways to look at the problem. I think the civic view, which most of you are on, at least on Instagram, where 91% of people voted true today. The civic view sees education as preparation for freedom, right? It wants people who can think independently, understand power, participate in democracy, and live meaningful lives. Its fear is that once employability becomes a central goal, schools begin producing useful workers who are less able to question what they're being used for, right? I mean, of course, the truth is in the area of grey here, but this is why we make a polarizing discussion to be able to really get to the truth of that grey zone. And then where Dan and I probably sit a little more deeper is the vocational view, right? And it sees education as preparation for reality. It argues that work occupies a large part of adult life, and it determines your security, independence, and ultimately your opportunities in life, right? Its fear is that if schools offer intellectual enrichment while abandoning students at the point where they must actually earn a living and where the rubber hits the road here. And there's also like a little bit of a class tension beneath the argument, right? Broad humanistic education is often defended by people whose economic security is already relatively strong. I mean, really, the person most qualified to speak on this are the people either in education or the closest away from it, right? Dan has just left. And this poor guy has to work with me. You're laughing there, Dan, because it's true. If school had only prepared me a little better. Is that why you're a false?
No, that's not why.
Yeah, I don't know. I see a little glint in your eye there, Dan. I mean, practical education is often demanded most urgently for those who can't afford years of exploration, right? I mean, ask a kid in Bradford where I was brought up. You know? Yet, a system that gives privileged students philosophy and disadvantaged students narrow job training risks deciding in advance who will think and who will serve. So yeah, there is an underlying class kind of current to this. Of course, if you're from a privileged background, you're thinking, no, civic responsibility, free thinkers, blah, blah, blah. But if you're from a background like mine, you're thinking, well, hell, I need my kid to get a decent job so they don't have to live the kind of life that I have. They don't have to experience the insecurity that I experienced. And I mean, and it's also worth mentioning that there's a false opposition here. Informed citizens need economic understanding and practical competence, right? And employable workers need critical thinking. This is what I'm saying. I mean, there is the massive grey area here, zona gris, where the truth actually sits, but it makes it useful making this a binary option to actually appreciate how important that grey zone is, I think. Anyway, so we went over some pros and cons, and right now we're going to get into your thoughts here. So let's dig in, shall we? You guys have been quite active in the chat. I love this. Okay, where were we? Let me do a little scrolling. Okay, Vero here. I think that's the first one. Vero says, true. Informed citizens are better people. The more you know about something, the better you can act about it. Yeah, I mean, again, I think it's a question of priorities and how you were raised. I think, well, not how you were raised, the economic situation of your of when and where you were raised. I think, and also what you perceive to be lacking in society. Yeah, but it's a valid point, Vero. Yeah, Mike here says at first people were skeptical of Google and Wikipedia. Yeah, it's true. Just as we are skeptical now, we were talking before the break about how people are just searching directly on ChatGPT or Claude rather than going to Google and doing the legwork and research themselves. Yeah. Okay, the poll is now ended, by the way. Let's see. Bridge says, this is so weird because when I came back from my 2012 incident, I found everything had changed. It seems I was seeing a truth. Carmen says, education not only means data, it should teach how to be better, smarter humans. Education should also teach us how to be less productive, but the system doesn't like it. Is civic responsibility does that fall into the remit of education? Or is that something you should get outside of school? Is that something that you should be getting from your parents, from media? Of course, we can't rely on the media for anything nowadays, right? Can we? Other than biased opinions. What used to be in the time of public service broadcasters like the BBC and the equivalents all around the world, these public service broadcasters had a remit to provide three things, right? It used to educate, entertain, and inform. And now, of course, we live in we don't even live in a time of genre format channeling, do we? We don't, it used to be that everything existed on 4 channels. Now you can watch the Shark channel if you want. And even worse than that, you don't even watch a channel anymore. You just pick the shows and binge watch what you find most entertaining. Which makes me think that we are putting way too much pressure on the education system to deliver things that it was never designed to deliver. Think about school. Think about the overlap of school and employment, right? School teaches you about deadlines, right? Plazos or fecha límite. It teaches you about deadlines, how to obey rules, schedules, performance reviews, whether that be, grades or whatever, authority figures, teamwork, managing stress. I mean, these are all skills that you are taught to become a better functioning member of society. And when I say better functioning, I mean, I mean that very pragmatically. I mean, as an employable worker, to contribute to the system that paid for your schooling if you went to a state school like I did. Or a public school, as you would call it, everywhere else in the world. Except for the UK, where the public schools, we call them state schools. Public school in the UK can mean the very, very elite schools, can't it? Anyway. I mean, school is designed around that, and we used to have organisms, good government organisms, if you count the BBC as that, that would teach you about civics. But of course, now, thanks Netflix, thanks HBO, thanks Sky TV or cable networks, now, you can watch the cooking channel 24 hours a day, or sod the cooking channel, you just, stream on Netflix whatever the hell your heart desires. I've got to be honest, for me right now, Dan, it's South Korean horror movies. By the way, I went to see the Odyssey at the weekend. Brilliant. Do go see it. Vero was spot on. It's a fantastic movie. Anyway, let's dig in. Of course, I know the comments increase when I start making my unpopular observations, but there we have it. Anyway. This is, where were we? Education should also teach us how to be less productive, but the system doesn't like it. That's where we left off. Gigi says, true, it should, but it doesn't happen. Democracy requires voters who can think critically, but a workforce that is skilled but easily manipulated is preferred. Yeah, and again, I think we're blaming the education system for something that has degraded over time, and that is media. And guess what? It was the media organizations' reactions to what we wanted that led to this. Does that make sense? Was it ever school's responsibility to teach you those things? Or was it not more in the realm of family and what you consumed outside school? Rob, who is pulling the strings, says the bridge? Well, a handful of individuals right at the very top. Those shareholders for whom which demand value from us. I mean, look, you've heard me say that like a million times. I'm the first person to say we are more than mere factories of shareholder value, right? You've heard me say that a million times. I don't believe that. But when it comes to education, I mean, it has to prepare people for the pragmatic reality of the world that they will encounter. It's already, as Dan said quite succinctly when I went in for my water bottle, it's already hard enough to find a job. You're not going to prepare me to do it? Come on. Mike says, well, if you think about it, there's a lot of education on platforms like YouTube. Nowadays, school can aim higher. Instead of just sharing facts, it should help minds grow. Well, my argument is that that's what should be on YouTube. Right? Like it was on TV and radio back in the day. Debates, understanding, introducing kids to, like I remember kids TV back in the day. There was a program in the UK called Newsround. If you're from the UK listening to this, you are immediately are getting goosebumps. Newsround, and it was news framed for kids so they can understand political and cultural issues that were happening at the time. Are your kids consuming any news right now? Probably not. Probably where my love of staying informed and why I prioritize it in my own life was birthed thanks to Newsround. Anyway, yeah. I mean, it's true. Like YouTube is an amazing educational tool, but I guarantee you, your kids aren't watching that. They're watching some dude play Minecraft. Oh no, my computer just died. Wah, wah, wah. Is it not plugged in? Oh God, this doesn't bode well for the rest of the show, Dan. What are we gonna do? Anyway, I can probably pull it up on my mobile phone. Thank you for all your comments. Yeah, it's true. I mean, there are tools and things available out there that can educate people, and maybe schools should aim higher, but that means a redesigning of the educational system, doesn't it? It means a redesigning of the educational system, and we can't blame schools for not doing what they weren't designed to do, can we? All right, how the hell am I going to see now? My computer has died. How the hell am I going to see what the results of the poll were? It's an interesting question. All right, no, the battery's dead. How can that be? Dan, could you do me a favour? Just play a very quick commercial break while I try and plug this in. We'll be back in just give us 30 seconds. Hey guys, sorry about that. Yeah, I'm unable to fix the computer, but thankfully Mike told me what the results of the poll were. So yeah, sorry for that impromptu ad break. I was trying to fix the technology here, but this computer is older than Dan is. So we'll make do. All right. So let's get to the results of the poll, shall we? I made the statement that education should create informed citizens, not employable workers, and you guys said 83%. 83% true. Did we shift your needle at all here, Dan?
No, really not.
No, yeah, mine neither. And I think my opinion is deeply rooted either for good or for bad in the way I was raised and the economic situations that I was raised in. You know, I think there is an underlying element of class to this, as well as the two opposing views, the civic and the, well, as I would call it, pragmatic view. I mean, education should prepare people to earn a living, but not teach them that earning a living is the purpose of being alive. I think that's where people are coming from, right? Humans are more than just what they do for a living. But let's be, I don't know, like, then I butt up against my idea that it's the second thing we say about ourselves, what we do for a living. Hey, what's your name? What do you do? Right. So we can't really, in all good conscience, say that, you know, I mean, it's true, we are more than that, but it's still a massive responsibility to society in general to be a productive part of it, isn't it? Or isn't it? A healthy society needs workers who can think beyond their jobs and citizens who can function beyond their opinions. You know, the real failure is producing people who are employable enough to serve the system, but not informed enough to question it. Which is why, with this, like with many other of our unpopular opinions, the truth lands in some kind of shade of grey outside the black and white of this argument, but makes it nevertheless fascinating to talk about. On that note, friends, you know what Grandpa Bo would say about this, right? He would say, Rob, those are just opinions, and opinions, they're like buttholes. Everyone has one, they all stink, including mine. Let's go to today's 100 Humans. Oh my God. It was a long walk to work today across snow-capped mountains and through river valleys, and on that walk I encountered 100 humans and I asked them all a question. Today's question was, name something school and employment have in common. Nombra algo que el colegio y el empleo tienen en común. I asked them that question, they gave me their answers. I'm in possession of the top 7 answers. Your job in the audience is to identify those top 7 answers. All right, Dan, kick us off. Name something that school and employment have in common.
Goal.
A goal. It's a good answer, but I can't give it to you. Sorry, Dan. Yeah. An objective. I get you. Like every student, whether it be exams or finishing a project, whatever. Yeah. Well done. It's a good answer, but not there, sadly. Artemisa's here. She says, schedules. Is schedules there? Horarios. I've got maths class in the morning. After that, I go to Spanish literature, and after that, I have science. Is schedules there? Yes, it is. Well done, Artemisa. Schedules is there with 13 of 100 humans. It's the number 3 answer. Well done. By the way, big thank you to Fenokitty, B. Lopez, Fran Perea, sorry, I'm pronouncing that incorrectly. Arancha Delgado, Athul Dan, Ana Kasan, Pedro, Ivan GP, Ivan Samarov, Tigre Devil, Raj, me, there's so many of you today. Thank you. Right. Let's go. Work you take home. Homework. You shouldn't take homework unless they're paying you for it. Is homework there? No, it's not. Wah, wah, wah. Getting up early, says Gigi. So punctuality, I guess. Is getting up early there? No, it's not. Wah, wah, wah. But she does say rules, reglas or normas. Is rules there? Something work and school has in common? Yes, it is. Well done. 23 of 100 humans. Number 2 answer. Hierarchy, says the bridge. Hierarchy. Is hierarchy, an easier way to say that is authority figures, right? To recognize authority. Figuras de autoridad. Is it there? Yes, it is. Well done. Bridge on fire. 8 of 100 humans. 5th most popular answer. Assessments. Yeah, to assess your abilities, right? In the work environment, you call that a performance review. A performance review. Evaluación de rendimiento. Is it there? Yes, it is. Well done. That was Carmen. Well done, Carmen. Mike says the Sunday dread. Yeah, that feeling you get on a Sunday night where you think, I got to go to work tomorrow, and then your stomach sinks. I'm going to be honest with you, given that I have this job, it's not something I really feel. I do love my work. I'm lucky in that respect. Very lucky. I recognize that. Discipline, says Vero. Discipline is a good one. Not there, though. Sorry. Timetable, says Fenokitty on Instagram. Yeah, schedules, timetable. Very good. Discipline, says B. Lopez. Discipline is good. Skill development, says Fran. And social networking, you're very close to one there, Fran, but I can't give you the answer. Arancha says you're always learning new things. A lack of personal identity, says Athul Dan. Getting up early in the morning, says Anaka-san. Rules, says Pedro. Politics, duties, hierarchy. Some great answers here. Ivan GP says setting a schedule. Ivan Samros says I don't like any of them. Mia here says teamwork. Trabajo en equipo. Is teamwork there? Yes, it is. Well done. It was a tough one to start off the week today. The other great answers here in the live audience: schedules, discipline, dress code, friends, making friends, networking. All right, we have to go to the answers now. You only missed 2 today. Okay, so when I asked 100 humans to name something a school and employment have in common, algo que el colegio y el empleo tienen en común, in position number 7. Stress. Stress. You get stressed out in managing that stress, right? In position number 6, we had teamwork, trabajo en equipo. 7 of 100 humans said that. In position number 5, authority figures. 8 of 100 humans said that. In figuras de autoridad. In position number 4, performance reviews, evaluación de rendimiento. 12 of 100 humans. In position number 3, with 13, we had schedules or timetables. I think there's several ways to say that. Horarios. In position number 2, we had rules. And finally, with 26 of 100 humans, in position number 1, deadlines. Well done, guys. Well done, well done. Obligations, says Artemisa. I might have given you that for the number 1 answer. Sorry. We ran out of time. I'll try and get this computer fixed for tomorrow's show, guys. But what a fascinating conversation. And again, all of these unpopular opinions were chosen by you on my Patreon. You can find me on patreon.com/professional bohemian if you want to join in as well. See you tomorrow.